Hey game designers, in this video I'm going to do a speed run of the Pokeball that we made in the last couple of days. Let's go ahead and click on new project. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is teach you guys how to go to quad view. This is how we go to quad view and see all four views. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is going to upload our reference. So we're going to create a plane over here. I'm just going to click on the plane and I can go ahead and drag it. Doesn't matter what size it is, although I'm actually going to undo that and actually do make a size. I'm going to click here where it snaps to grid, and I'm just going to apply a material. So I'm going to go ahead and create a plane now, and I'm going to go ahead and drag a plane. Now, the reason why I can do this is under Create, Poly Primitive, I have Interactive Create on. That allows me to create by dragging and clicking. So that's why I can do so like that. Okay, so once you have a object, what we're going to do is we're going to apply a new material to it. So we're going to go ahead and right-click and assign new material. And what we're going to do is we're just going to apply a Lambert. And under the Lambert 2, because you don't want to mess with Lambert 1, we're going to click on the color. Again, I'm on the attribute editor. I'm going to click on the color, and I'm going to choose from a file instead. Once you click on file, you see image name as a option. I'm going to go into my downloads folder, I believe. So under my name, downloads folder, and I'm looking for my Pokeball reference. So let's see if this will allow me to extend. And let me go to date modified here. There we go. And my Pokeball reference is not here. So let's see if I can find under document. There it is, Pokeball reference. So there's my Pokeball reference. I'm gonna go ahead and click on it. You can see the file here. Okay, and now I'm going to go to here on this viewport. Again, I use quad view. On my viewport, I'm going to hit 6. And you can see our Pokeball reference is here. I can hit 6 on all of these. Not that these two need it. Okay, and that's just to keep us there, and we can see from the top view what the Pokeball looks like. So as we model the Pokeball. So it's just, again, just a way for us to see it. Let's go ahead and create our sphere now. So we can just click on a sphere object. And we can left click and drag. Okay, and we're going to go to the channel box and actually change the settings. So under channel box, you'll see here on the poly sphere, we're going to create it at a radius of 6 and 20 subdivisions, 20 subdivisions height. I'm actually going to change the number of subdivision height to 21. The reason being is because I want to have a middle row that we can use for the groove. So I'm going to type in 21. Okay, so that you can see here that this is the center line, and that the center line has one face I can use to create the groove of the Pokeball. So I'm going to go back to my reference here, and you can use H to hide objects. Here is our Pokeball. I'm going to actually move it above so that I can always see it from the top view. So I'm going to use the move tool, which is hotkey W, and I'm just going to move it really up here so you can see it's up here, or maybe even higher so that we don't even see it on the viewport. I see it up here, and I can just go to the sphere, hit hide again, H, and you can see the sphere back. So anyway, so again, that's for this black groove. So this entire face, the entire face ring here is going to be used to create that groove right there. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and continue modeling here. So we have the sphere. We're going to go ahead and extrude inward this entire face ring. So we're going to go ahead and go to face mode by right-clicking and dragging to face mode. And I'm going to go ahead and select a face, although it looks like my hotkey is a little bit off, which is weird. That's better. And I'm going to double-click on this face ring right here. Just hold Shift and double-click. And you can see here I selected the entire edge ring. Now I'm going to use the Scale tool to scale inward. I'm going to show you what not to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it correctly. If you use the Scale tool and you scale inward, you can see that this is warping the ball, and I don't want that. I want to create the actual grooves. So basically what I need is to have extra faces go inward. So I'm going to hold Shift to do a scale and extrude inward. So here you go. And you can see here that I'm going to make it, I don't know, about yay high. No particular size. I'm just kind of eyeballing it So it's probably about half a unit in or so. Okay, so that's just the groove of the ball here. Okay, now we're going to create a hole. So I'm going to go ahead and create the drilling object that's going to drill into our hole here. So I'm going to actually hide this sphere for a minute. I'm going to click H to hide it. I'll click on this. Oh, I accidentally hid just the faces. Sorry, I'm going to go back to object mode. I'm going to undo that. Go back to object mode. I'm going to kind of undo it. Okay, right click, go back to object mode. Oops, I misclicked again. Right click, object mode. I'm going to click the object mode. I'm going to hide it. And I'm going to create the cylinder now. So again, in order to create the cylinder the way that I'm creating it, you have to go under create, poly primitive, and turn on interactive creation. So if you're not seeing this, it's because you don't have interactive creation on. So again, interactive creation allows us to drag on the screen and then to create the base and then pull up to create the height. So I want to go ahead and create the base here. I'm going to left click drag, and you can see that this is snapping to the grid. So, and if it doesn't, we can always fix that. So I'm going to snap to grid here, and I'm going to snap it there. It's supposed to be a radius of 2, but it doesn't look like it's 2. It looks like it's not exactly snapping to grid. It should, although it's weird. Okay, so let's go ahead there, and I'm going to drag it outward. So I'm just going to left click and drag. So basically, I left click, drag, let go to create the base. I left click again and drag up or down to create the height. And then again, it's not necessarily whatever height, doesn't matter. So we can go in here and actually change the radius. So under, again, our channel box, under input poly cylinder, we're going to go radius of 2. And the height doesn't matter. And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter there. So now my radius is 2. So I'm going to go ahead and move this thing. And this is going to drill the hole into our sphere. So I'm going to turn back our sphere. I'm going to unhide that. And now you can see that I have this cylinder that's going to drill a hole into the sphere. But the problem is I don't really see through the sphere, so I can't see how deep this is. So what we're going to take advantage of is wireframe mode. We're going to go ahead and click 3, I believe. Or is it 4? Let's see. Is it 4 or 3? It is not 3. So hit 1 to undo 3, and then hit 4 to do wireframe. So now you can see a wireframe there. I'm going to click 4 on this viewport, 4 on this viewport, and I can see through. So I'm going to look specifically here, and I want to move this exactly 1 unit inward. So you can see here that I'm snapping, and it's 1 unit inward. And this works because my height is exactly 6. So I could move it exactly 1 unit because it's an even number. But let's suppose that I use an odd number, just to show you guys that how you could do this even if you use an odd number. If I went to cylinder and made this a height of 7 instead, well, unfortunately, using the center of the object, I'm now at a half unit, and I can't get it to a full unit. So how can I fix this? So what you can do, and I want to show you this anyway because it's important, is to move the pivot. The hotkey, I believe, is B, or is it D? Is it D or B? Let's see, is it B? Nope, I take that back. Don't do that. Don't do B. Is it D? I think it is D. So I'm holding D, and I'm left-clicking on the pivot, and it allows you to move the pivot anywhere you want. Now, I want to move the pivot to this point on the bottom, so I'm going to turn on snap to point and turn off snap to grid for a minute. I'm going to hold D and hold that point and see it snap. So you see it snap in the center of the cylinder. You can see it on this view and this view that it is centered. And now when I move the object, I'm using the pivot as a reference. So now I can go back to object mode, and I could now move the cylinder. Okay, I got snap to point on. Turn back to snap to grid, turn off snap to point, and now I can move it any distance that I want using the bottom pivot. So now I'm going to go ahead and move it 1 unit in, and now I'm going to use this to drill a hole into our sphere. So to do this, I'm going to click on the sphere first, and I'm going to turn this. Actually, I'm going to leave wireframe mode on. I'm going to click on the sphere first because the order does matter. I'm going to click on the cylinder. I hold shift to select both. Hold shift to select the sphere, then the cylinder. Go to mesh, Boolean, and I'm going to take A, subtract B, meaning whatever I clicked on first, subtract the second. And you can play with these if you want. I'm just going to show you guys how to do this quick style. Click on the preferences here, and I'm going to hide the object once I'm done doing and applying this subtraction. So when I hit apply, you can now see the geometry that is cut into the object. So you can see here now if I turn back on my view of non-wireframe, which is 5, you can see that I cut the object. So now I have the hole. So again, how to navigate is holding Alt, left click and panning. You can always use F to frame. So if you click on the object here in the hierarchy, hit F, you can frame it onto the object. Okay, so hit F again, so frame. So you can see here, I'm always centered on my object. So you can see here that we did a pretty good job of cutting the hole that we wanted. But the unfortunate part is I'm trying to create these buttons. It would be nice if I had these subdivision caps inside the cylinder itself so that I can extrude those out. But the great thing about the newer version of Maya is that the cylinder is actually still there. So if you see here, they hid the object. I can actually unhide the object. And inside the channel box, I could go to the cylinder still and still add those subdivisions after I perform the Boolean. So now, instead of performing the Boolean with just 1 subdivision height, I can change it to 3. So I'm going to go ahead and change subdivision cap, subdivision cap to 3. And now you can see that my new cylinder has 3. But more importantly, if I hide this object now and go back to the surface, I now have 3 subdivisions I could use to create the buttons for this. So now I'm going to go in there and resize these rings to kind of match more closely to this. I'm kind of eyeballing this, but this button right here is about 50% of the height over here. And this ring is not quite half of a half. So that's sort of like my guideline here. So again, this was a, I believe this was a 2-unit hole. So my first ring, I want to be a 1-unit radius. So again, I'm going to enlarge this ring. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my view over here, and I'm going to go ahead and select these. And the best way to do that is using these right here. I'm going to right-click and go to face mode. I'm going to select the inside face by left-clicking and dragging. I got the inside face here, and I'm going to scale outward, and I'm actually going to turn on wireframe mode. I'm going to hit 3. Not 3. Sorry, I keep thinking wireframe is 3. It's not 3. Hit 1 to cancel wireframes. So you go back to polygon view. It is 4. So you can see here that this has a radius of less than a half or close to a half. I want to get to about here. So I'm going to use the R tool, and I'm going to scale outward till I get to about 1. So you see here, it's about 1. And this face right here, this ring, so I'm going to click here and hit double shift and see if I could, using Q to select, hit Q there, and then hit double shift here and see I get the edge ring. Okay, I got the second edge ring. And I'm going to scale, looks almost about right, to be honest. So this looks actually good. Okay, so now that I have the rings that I need, I'm going to start extruding now upward. So I'm going to extrude 1 level first, then I'm going to extrude the last level for this one. So again, this is a good time to use wireframe view on this one, this angle here, so you can see what we're clicking on. So I'm going to hold Q, again, to select, and I'm going to hit shift here and then hit double shift. That didn't work because it's always detected as an edge ring. You can just left click and drag here. And you can see here that I selected 20 faces. And if I hit shift and hit double shift here, I select this outer face. I have a total of 40 selected faces. I'm going to go here now, and I'm going to use extrusion, so using W to move it. But if you hold shift, you extrude. So I'm going to kind of frame right on the faces here. Hit F to frame on the side view. And I'm going to extrude a little bit and then a little bit more. So I'm thinking the button is going to be flush with the ball. So the very inner ring will be about here. And the inside ring, I can put it about maybe halfway through. So I'm going to hold shift while dragging this arrow. And this will drag everything. But unfortunately, I have snap to grid on. I'm going to control Z that. I'm going to turn off snap to grid so that I can be a little bit more precise here. And move it to about there. Okay, and that's my first extrusion. You can see here on the perspective view that I did extrude about halfway through. Actually, not halfway through because this is actually where it's flush. So I'm going to move back. I'm not going to extrude anymore. I'm just going to not hold shift, move it back a little bit. So let's say halfway between here and here. Now I'm going to hold shift one more time, but only on the inside circle and extrude out only the inside circle. So again, I'm going to use Q, left click, select only these. Okay, I'm going to use W to move these, but I'm going to hold shift to extrude. And I'm going to extrude so that it's just flush with the ball. Okay, so you can see this perspective view right here. I have that ring, and that concludes our model. So now it is time to texture. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. I'm going to go back to 5, 5, 5, so I can see all of our textures. Okay, so again, the default texture for all objects inside Maya is using Lambert 1. We're going to use assign different Lamberts to create all of our other colors. So I'm going to, again, use face mode. So I'm going to right-click using Q. Right-click, go to face mode. I'm going to select all these faces. Now, when you're selecting faces, if you guys go to the modeling toolkit, you'll see that the camera-based selection is on. So when I left-click and drag like this, I only grab this side of the faces. If I hold Alt and left-click drag, you can see I'm not selecting any faces on this side. That's a good and a bad thing. This gives us control using camera-based selection on or off. So you got to be careful about what you're selecting. I'm going to turn it off, and using the side view, now that I have it off, it should select faces in the back that I don't see. So now I left-click and drag, and now if I hold Alt, you can see I collected all the faces that I wanted to turn into red color. So now I just need to deselect all of these that I don't want to turn red. So I'm going to hold Shift, left-click, drag. That'll click a lot of these off for me. And now I'm going to manually click on the ones that I don't want. So again, left-clicking once will select it, holding Shift and left-clicking again will deselect it. So I'm holding Shift and deselecting these. And again, if you hold Alt and then rotate your camera, I'm going to turn off these. And if you mess up, it's okay. You can always reassign the material again. So again, I'm going to hold Alt and kind of check. You see here that I have some faces missing. Okay, I can zoom out. I can kind of move forward as long as I don't click on anything else. The stuff that I selected stays selected. So it looks like I did a pretty clean job here. Okay, but actually, I did double check. I think I might have accidentally clicked some of these. You guys see here? That's a mistake. So that's because I left camera-based selection off. I wanted to turn it back on. So this is a mistake. I'm going to have to, actually, I'm better to not, just to redo it. I'm going to try it again. So again, when I'm selecting, I want to go to face mode, left-click, drag with camera-based selection off, but when I'm deselecting, I need to turn it back on because I don't want to click the ones that are on the back. So again, I'm going to hold Shift to deselect most of these like that. Then I'm going to click on some of these. Then I'm going to go into perspective view and make sure that I deselect some of these top ones. You can see here I selected some of these. Deselect. Again, this is tedious, but it's necessary. So I'm going to hold Alt, zoom out, and I can get a pretty good view of all of these that I want to deselect. And it looks like I did it correctly now. So now with camera-based selection on, I won't select the faces back here, and now it looks like I'm good to go. Now I selected all of these. I'm going to right-click, go down to Assign New Material, and again, I'm going to apply a new Lambert. And when you guys apply a new Lambert, you'll see here in the Attribute Editor will be opened up. You can scroll to the right. All the Lamberts are far to the right. Lambert 1 is the default material that we already created, but Lambert 3 is the one that we just assigned. And to just do it quickly, we're just going to go ahead and actually let's go ahead and turn directly into our AI shader because we're going to export this into Unity. So I'm going to turn this to AI Standard Surface. And I'm going to change the color to red. And I like to use not HSV, I like to use RGB 255 because that's how we're used to doing color. I'm going to turn it to a red color like this. And then I'm going to turn on metalness to about 25%. Okay, just to give it some shine and some roughness. I can add some roughness. It's okay. Okay. And again, this object will look a little bit darker because we have no light in our scene. But when you guys move it into Unity, you'll see a much brighter color. Okay. So again, that's how you guys apply. Let's go ahead and do it for the bottom half. So I want the bottom half to be white and these inside ring to be white. So again, go to your modeling toolkit. Make sure that you have camera-based selection off when you're selecting ones in the back. Left-click, drag. Select all the ones in the back. You can hold Alt and check all of these are selected. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to deselect some of these. So again, I'm going to hold Shift, deselect as many as I can with the marquee tool, and now manually deselect some of these that I don't want to include because I would consider those maybe black. Okay, so it looks like, oh, I still have a few in here. And it looks like I did a good job there. I'm scrolling around, looking good. So this is going to be white. Okay, I could select these. I'll do that second in a minute. So I'll show you how to do that. So again, I got all the bottom ones selected. Looks like I'm good. Did I turn camera off? Oh, shoot. I think I might have accidentally clicked on this. Yep, I did. So it looks like I deselected these 4. Again, that's because I had camera-based selection off. Make sure you turn that on, please, when you're deselecting. So I'm going to turn it on now, and I'm going to add these 8 back, and I should have 200. So it looks like I'm back on track with 200. Okay, so again, easy mistake to make. I make it all the time. Just make sure your camera base is on or off. Make sure you're aware of that. So I'm going to right-click, go to Apply New Material, and I'm going to call it Lambert again, and I'm going to change it to, if you scroll to the right, you'll see Lambert 4 that got created. You're going to go here, and I'm going to change this to AI Shader, AI Standard Surface, and I'm going to make it white color. Again, I have to use RGB, 255. White color is full max down here, 255, 255. Again, I'm going to go metallic, about 0.25. Roughness, 0.25. And again, it looks dark gray, but it really is white, especially with lighting. Okay. So that looks good. And I'll go now and do the ring now. So now the ring is supposed to be white button here, but I already used this material, but I can go ahead and do it again. Just use a material that I already have. So again, I'm going to go use this view. I'm going to make sure my camera-based selection on again, remind myself to turn it on because I don't want to select the ones in the back. I'm going to left click and drag as many as I can. Actually, this one, I'm just going to left click like this. And using perspective view, we can take advantage of these edge rings. So I'm going to hold shift here to select one of these. Hold shift, double click, that selects the edge ring. Hold shift to select one. Hold shift, double click to select that edge ring. Hold shift to select one. Hold shift and double click to select that entire edge ring. So I got all of these edge rings. I can right click and apply existing material. And I'm going to apply standard surface 2, which is supposed to be the white color. Okay. Now there is this refresh bug where when you apply new material, it kind of resets all of the things, your colors, but your colors are there. So real quickly, you could just go to File and Save Scene, or Save Scene As in my case, because I haven't named it yet. So I'm just going to name it YouTube Tutorial Pokeball. Okay, click Save As. Now, if you guys just click the Home button and then reload it back up, and it should come back with all of its textures. Okay, so the last thing now is the rest of these inside need to be black. So again, I'm going to go back here, go to face mode, and I'm going to left click drag all the way through. And actually, I want to left click drag all of these because actually I want to get all of these. So I'm actually going to left click drag a little bit up here. I'm going to left click drag all the way here. I want to get the entire circle inside it too, because it's easier to deselect edge rings than to select edge rings. So I want to select everything in here. So actually, I want to turn camera-based selection off and do that again. Okay, I'm going to left-click here and grab everything there. So I'm going to try it again. Make sure I try to grab as much as I can. Okay, so I grab all of these. Obviously, I don't want to select this and this, but I got all of this in here. And that's the important part, is that I got all of these. Okay, so let's see if our edge ring tool works. It doesn't always work, especially when you cut geometry on it. So I'm going to hold shift to deselect this, and hold shift double click, and it does not deselect. So you can see here that it's not a perfect tool, but it's still better than trying to click on most of these manually, because again, we kind of destroyed our edge ring here. And again, you could just use hold shift and deselect like that. Again, you want to turn camera break selection. Oh, I want to turn the camera break selection on. Make sure I didn't screw things up. I did screw things up. All right, let's try that again. Easy mistake to make. Always forget to turn off camera-based selection on when you're deselecting. So I'm going to turn this back on. Again, I just did Control Z to deselect. So again, I'm just going to left-click drag, deselect those, 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 left-click, 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 and left-click. So I got most of those deselected, and I'm going to deselect all of these. Again, I'm going to do left-click drag to deselect, left-click drag to deselect, left-click drag to deselect, left-click drag to deselect. Missed that one there. Okay, these I'm probably going to manually click on. And it's kind of check around what I selected. And now I've got to deselect all these edge rings in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to kind of scroll in here, scroll out, hold shift, left click all of these because then these are not edge rings, but these are. So I'm going to hold shift. It shows a minus sign. Double click the next one. It is not letting me deselect the edge ring. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and manually do this. So I'm going to left click, drag as many as I can. Hit some of these missing ones. Left click, drag. Deselect these. Go to the bottom, left click, drag. Left click, drag. Hold Alt or hold Shift to deselect those. It looks like to deselect, it doesn't let us select edge rings, but when we select, it allows us to click on edge rings. That's unfortunate that it doesn't let us deselect with edge rings, but we can complain about my all we want, but it's still the best we got. So I deselected correctly by accidentally selected these or deselected these, so I got those back. And just checking again all the numbers, I'm just visually checking all the faces, and it looks like I'm good. I got the inside groove all selected. Okay, now that I think I'm done, I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna go to assign new material because this is my black material. Again, I'm gonna click on standard surface. I guess I can click directly on standard surface, assuming it's AI. Actually, I'm gonna click on Lambert. And I'm gonna go into here under Lambert 5. I'm gonna go to here, turn it to an AI shader, because again, this is the one that we're gonna import into Unity. And I'm gonna turn the roughness up again, 0.25, middleness 0.25, and I'm gonna change the color to black. And it looks like we're done. Okay. Now, the last thing I'm going to teach you guys how to do is import this into Unity, and so you guys can see that as well, so that you guys can have and see your object in Unity. And I'll cover on Wednesday how to turn it to make it more interactive. So again, we're going to export it. Make sure you save your file first. So save your scene. So remember, this is a Maya scene, but we're going to export it. And I'm going to click on the object that I want to export. File, export selection. And I'm going to export using a FBX export. This is important that you make it the right type. I'm going to put it onto, this is a horrible place to put it. I'm just going to put it in my documents folder here. And I'm going to say Pokeball tutorial. Okay. Click export selection. But before you do that, make sure that your settings are over here. Allows you to export it with the textures. So you can see here that there's these options here. And the one that we're looking for is under include options. Not include options. Under file type specific options, we're going to go to enable media and make sure that this is checked. Enable media under file type specific options. We're going to click on export selection. And we're ready to go. So we should export it. It should be on my documents folder. Let's go ahead and open up Unity. And I'm going to open up my tutorial because I don't want to mess up my scene here. Now, if I wasn't so lazy, I could actually use Premiere and edit this part out, but I'm too lazy. So anyway, let's go ahead and just add our Pokeball. So we're going to go ahead and go to My Assets. You're going to create a folder called My 3D Models. So we're going to just right-click on the empty space, create folder, and we're going to call it My Models. And we're going to go ahead and, I made a My Model folder inside of my prefabs. I'm going to drag that back into My Assets and click on My Models. And I'm going to right-click, import new asset. I'm going to click in my documents folder, YouTube tutorial, Pokeball, inside my downloads folder or my documents folder. Where did I put it? I put it as an FBX object. It should be here. Let's check the date. There it is. Pokeball tutorial FBX. I'm going to import it. And now in my scene view, I'm going to drag the Pokeball into my scene. So, and see if it works, because it doesn't look like it worked there, but let's see here. Okay, I'm going to drag it up. Use R to scale. And it did not work. Let's see if I did the right one. Oh, there it is. It's still loading. So whatever reason, it's working here, but not working quite here. I could see the object. Okay, there it is. It's just taking a while to load up. But here it is. There it is, guys. My Pokeball. So I can hit F, I think, frame, right? Hold Alt, and take a look at that shiny Pokeball that we have here in our scene. Okay? All right. That's it for this tutorial. I'll see you guys next time.